Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another exciting episode of Frail Conversations. Today, I'm gonna be talking about a very, I ain't gonna say controversial, because I kind of don't give a fuck about the topic, but I feel like in line with what I talk about, it's relevant. So I'm going to speak towards it. I'm not going to speak on it, directly, because I don't want to give it any energy, because I don't give a fuck about the dynamic as a whole, but I give a fuck about the circumstance that presented it. So, I'm going to address it. And so today I'm going to be speaking about polygamy. Because as I went out, if you check out the season finale of, what's this episode, season 6? If you check out the season finale of season 5, when I did Frail 3, that premonition, not the premonition, but the drop to say I was going to take my hiatus and finish the book and get everything straight. It's crazy how shit align, man. I don't fucking know how this shit works. But, well, I kind of know. But anyway, so in that, I remember speaking and I said a specific line. Polygamy is for the carnal. Polygamy is for the carnal. Monogamy is for the divine. Right? I caught flack for that. I ain't gonna hold you. Some people was fucking with it, but then I got, we was originally supposed to be polygamous. Men are supposed to be polygamous. That's why we got, so much semen, whatever the case may be, and all of that shit. And I'm like, yo, bruh, like, the fuck, like, no. It's like, no, I could break down why we got semen on a different level to justify my point. Just because you can justify some shit doesn't make it right. Right? It makes it justified. Anywho, the point of that was that, like I said, I caught flack for that line. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of dudes that was, polygamy is always, and then when we look at the polygamy, is always a man with multiple women, multiple girls, or whatever the case may be. And they're like, yo, that's just how we are. That's not how we are. That's how we've been conditioned to be. That is how we've been conditioned to be. And the conditioning is so cultural now that we think that's who we are or how we are. No. When we reach a point in our lives where we actually truly ascend to divine masculine, if that's what everybody wants to fucking be on, you can't be a polygamist if you're on your divine masculine. Shit don't work. Because as I said, polygamy is for the carnal, masculinity is for the, polygamy is for the carnal, monogamy is for the divine. Because the reason why I said that is because the divine is able to get everything out of one, right? Let me break that down for you. The divine is able to get everything out of the one because the divine knows everything that it needs. So therefore, it knows how to alchemize whatever it is that it needs out of one thing if it needs it. The carnal mind doesn't know how to do that. So it needs multiple things to satisfy the individual pieces that it requires. You feel what I'm saying? And so when we add that into the context of everything that is going on in light of recent situations, it easily makes sense why certain things played out the way that they played out. But again, I'm not going to speak on the situation, but I am going to speak towards it and the theme behind all of the underlying principles that reside within it. But before we dive heavy into it, be sure to follow me on Instagram at the Just Seen Podcast. Be sure to check out my website at IamJustSeen.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who tip, sponsor, and donate to the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor to the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of your podcast. Not the episode, but the podcast itself. Cash App and PayPal are just fine. And as always, you are greatly appreciated, as I said. And that's that for this, and that's this for that. But when we come back, we're going to be diving into Frail Conversations, polygamy. Oh yeah, and don't forget to visit IamJustSeen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the Frail series to your library? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to learn how to master the market for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? visit IamJustSeen.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustSeen.com. So just take a quick peek into my world and see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it. You will never see it unless you visit IamJustSeen.com. All right. Welcome back. Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna dive heavy into it. So, as I said, I don't want to speak on the situation, but I'll speak towards it. But, a polygamist, in essence, what happened as of late is that a polygamist has been, charged with molestation, right? So it's one of those things that when it finally came out, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't like, how could he? It's like, damn, caught up with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was one of those things like you kind of expected it to happen. Not in the sense of, messing with a little kid or anything like that, but in the sense of, it's in the nature, ultimately. You feel me? It's in the nature, ultimately, because it's like, that's what that's what that platform is built on. You know what I mean? And a lot of men have exploited it as far as, intellect or whatever the case may be. But to the core of it all, it comes down to the principles of what I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, that polygamy is for the carnal and monogamy is for the divine. When we consider what it is to be carnal, right? That is we quote unquote lower nature, lower self. Like, you still need your carnality, don't get me wrong. However, in certain regards, your carnality needs to be muted. In certain regards, your carnality needs to be silenced. You feel me? In the realm of, and when we look at polygamy, mainly the polygamists, those who practice polygamy and, are from the carnal aspect, are in a space in which most of the time it's all physical. It's the physical appeal. It's not really in the capacity and the dynamic of actually using polygamy for what it is, as in the resource of, this is multiple dynamics of where we stand and where we are. You feel what I'm saying? But what it actually is the underlying theme of lust. That's why I said it's the carnal space. Like, because it's like, okay, wear this, do that. And it's like the whole theme is lust driven. When things are lust driven, right, it's there's no substance to it. So anything can fill the void. You feel me? And not only just from that perspective of polygamy and monogamy, but as men culturally, we're programmed. It's not that we're programmed to like young girls, so to speak, because, that's a sick mentality, but everything but in a sense, we are still programmed to like a certain pocket of woman all of our lives. And we're programmed from that since we're kids. Like, because of what we see on the TV, because of what we see on the news and the media and everything. That's why I said polygamy is carnal. But the reason why we see all of these things consistently back to back is because it gives us a mentality of a certain time block in our minds. It imprints a certain image. So when we're watching my generation, I think we were the first generation to like get music videos with video hoes in it. But, getting them at such a young age, and like you see everything. And this is why it's iconic that the celebrities and the people in that space are teenagers to young adults. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Your career, quote unquote, in which it's like the height, you're popping. Most of motherfuckers is like anywhere between 16 and 25. After that, it's not much marketability in you because you're too old, because you're out of that element. So what you see within that pocket is continually programmed within you to fuck with that. You feel what I'm saying? That age pocket. So we can reduce it a little bit. So the physical aesthetic, the physical appeal is a physical body of a woman is going to be built from what's about 16 up until, 21, 22. We extended to 23 a little bit, but that little pocket of time, we have been programmed that all women are supposed to look like that all of their lives. Women are also tied to that bullshit too. So much so, they're running to get Brazilian butt lifts. They're running to Dr. Miami's and all these other motherfuckers and keeping the waist trainers and doing all this because they, in their mind, also perceive the conditioning that you have to stay looking like you're 16 to 23. You're not. You're just not going to. That's an illusion and that's a facade. You feel what I'm saying? And it all derives from us also transitioning into a society in which the people aged a lot faster. So they needed things, they need things to keep themselves quote unquote youthful, regenerist, collagen, Botox, all of that shit that we don't necessarily need. But now that we've assimilated into the culture, we adapt and we use. Like, this is a tangent. I know this is so for a conversation, but it fits for here. Black women getting lip injections is the stupidest shit ever. The lip injection was created to have lips like yours. But it shows the imprint of how well the conditioning has worked and the assimilation has worked to where we are trying, because we're still trying to align with what we've integrated into, that we don't realize that we're integrating it to what's trying to emulate us. Psychosis. You feel what I'm saying? Our women got the fat asses. They're going to get the booty lifts, and all our women have to do is squats, but they're getting the lifts too. It's like, you're not a Caucasian. You don't need that. But alas, we do. And alas, it ties back into the fact that that societal structure doesn't age well. It just doesn't. But we're still in a cultural system where we want to keep the age of the image of a woman from 16 to 23 years old. You feel me? 16 to 23 years old. And that image stays with us imprinted if we don't choose to mature it as we grow older, as we get older, and as we develop. So what happens with us as men is that we tie ourselves to that without the understanding. So now let's add this dynamic into it. You have, polygamy, right? And the polygamy is still, and like I said, it goes into, look at the music video structure of what it is. I know the landscape has probably changed, but I know when I grew up, the videos, it always showed that the body is like, her body was literally built like between 16 and 23 years old. That's cool when you're 14, 15 years old. That's cool. You feel what I mean? Because the body types that you see are what you already programmed to fuck with. You feel me? So the thick chicks, when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, those thick chicks fit that window. You feel what I'm saying? 16, I'm 15, so 16, she's good. 16, 17, 18, like, you feel me? So at that time, it's like there was no separation. It was just like, yo, she's thick. She bad. She built like this. You feel me? So you go get her. But then it keeps your mind in only wanting that. You're programmed never to develop the physical. You're programmed never to develop your physical attraction. So this is why it's like when we're in our relationships and our women start getting old or they start gaining weight or their bodies start changing, we're still programmed and conditioned to see or want to see a 16 to 23-year-old body. You feel me? We can argue. Really, we can. I love this debate. You feel what I'm saying? But when you look at, regardless of what a motherfucker can consciously tell me, his unconscious mind is what never lies. I know how to access the unconscious mind. I know how to access the subconscious mind. So I know what it is that is really happening. So when you tell me, oh, nah, I like older, but look at what a motherfucker double taps. Look at what a motherfucker continually scrolls on. You feel what I'm saying? That's the mold in which they feel they have to be. And the women that we involve ourselves with feel they have to be that mold too. So there's a lot of women right now who feel like they're undateable. There's a lot of women out there who feel like a certain man won't be attracted to them because they're not built like a 16 to 23-year-old. You feel what I'm saying? And even the old heads are telling you this. You feel me? Kevin Samuels is doing this shit too. And what's getting me is that when I watch the women who watch him, right? When I watch the women who watch him, it gets dangerous because of the fact that he's telling them on one perspective, yeah, we need a woman that's gonna work out, we're gonna do this, like, but what is the physical image? The image that he's showing you, that he's telling you, okay, the high value man or whatever the case may be wants X, Y, and Z. That's cool. We do want that. You feel what I'm saying? But it has to be within respect of the aged factor. It has to be respected in the physical maturity factor. You feel what I'm saying? A lot of motherfuckers still want women who do not look physically as if they passed 25. He's even said that. Like when he shows you, okay, you're looking for a high value man. What type of woman does a high value man want? And then he shows you women that fit a certain mold that look like the same programming that we're conditioned to be physically built. Like she's between 16 and 23 years old, 25, and most we're pushing it. No woman is built like that anymore. It's just like, especially once she start to get like, you feel me? Come on, man. Real ones know that over 30 weight is, when a woman hit that over 30 weight, dog, it's different. You don't want, it's a grown woman body at that point. You feel what I'm saying? That second life cycle, after numerology, after that Saturn return and shit, that second life cycle, that physical body is different. But we want the maturity. We want the mental space of the 30 and the 30 plus. We want the spiritual space of the 30 plus, but we want the physical space of teenagers, adolescent bodies. You feel me? Like I said, that physical pocket of 16 to 23 years old. Certain dimensions, certain like her, you know what I'm saying? So this ties into the theme of what's circulating around the community. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, I'm not going to give it credence. I'm speaking towards it because it's a much deeper root. Because apples all the time don't fall from the tree. Because it seems to be like the very motherfucker who was his mentor did the same shit. So it's like, how does this cycle repeat itself? Because, and now I'm seeing what it is. It's the mental capacity. And this is by no means a pass, but this is, me being able to observe what we really need to fix, what issue we really need to fix when it comes to the attraction we had to our women. Because we're not attracted to our women, we're attracted to our girls. You feel what I'm saying? We're attracted to our girls. And what I mean by that is that there's a certain window. This is one of the reasons why I'm starting to observe and learn why 18 is legal. It's not moral, but it's legal. You could be 50, 60 years old, fuck with an 18-year-old, but she's legal. It's still immoral, bro. When we had to get back to the point where we lack morality because we've learned to lack morality we've learned to lack morality because of the concept of legalities. Morality is more human. We don't have to be human anymore. We can admit that. As long as it fits within the bounds of the law, we are good. We don't have to think morally. You dig what I'm saying? So when you look at somebody who's like, okay, I see this woman that's, she looked like this, that, and the third, but it's like, what does she really look like? What is she like? 9 times out of 10. Okay, yeah, we know we want a thick one or whatever the case may be, but at the same time, we be like, it has to be, toned up. It has to be tight. It has to be like all shit you can't get out of a woman over her 20s and 30s. I ain't gonna say all because y'all working out, y'all tightening up, but at the end of the day, y'all aren't gonna work. The women aren't gonna tighten up as fast as a kid would. A teenager would. You know what I'm saying? Those, and I'm talking about physically. I mean, toning up and everything is fast because her body is now going through different changes. So over the time, what happens? You feel me? Over the time, what happens? So this is why, tying it back in, I get to the point of polygamy being carnal. Because what's the imprint for what makes you want to have a polygamous relationship? Because it's like when you're in a certain age and you're like, yeah, I can, but you don't anticipate growing. And that shows the mind state and the mind warp that we stay in as men, that we don't develop. You know, I just had a conversation with a young lady a few days ago and shit. And she was like, she was 24. And so I was like, now because she's in entrepreneurship in the business and shit, I was like, cool. Well, we could chat, friendship or whatever the case may be. So I think I was telling her something about one of my businesses or something like that. And she was like, yeah, I really want you to teach me. So I was like, what you want me to teach me? Because I figured, because it was on my master in the market page. So I figured it was, you want to learn something about marketing, not marketing, you want to learn something about trading and investing, like, what's up? And she was like, I want to know your name, sign, and something like that. And I was like, your name, sign, and something, whatever it was her macking, as she put it. But it was, I told her, that's what it was. My sign, my middle name, and when me and her were going to get together. So mind you, she's 24 years old. So I replied to her. I'm like, my sign is Aries, told her what my middle name was. And I said, you are too young for me. She was like, it shocked her. But her response was, that's not the real reason what it is. I said, yes, the fuck it is. She was like, I've never heard that before. So I told her, I said, just because you've never heard that you're too young for a man doesn't mean that you're not too young for a man. Like, the fuck you mean? She was like, nah, that's not it. It's got to be a real reason. The real reason is you're too young for me. I'm 31 years old. You're 24 years old. She was like, what does that mean? It means a lot. I have 6 years of life on you. 7. My bad. My math was off. I was like, yo, I got 7 years of life on you. And not only life in as far as 7 years, mentally, spiritually, my mind is far beyond where yours is. I've already experienced so much of life. And I'm not going to say that she didn't experience anything, but it's like, regardless, you're 24, I'm 31. No. You feel me? I'd be taking advantage of you. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it was another thing where, and that goes back into more societal programming, because we're taught as men, go for a younger woman. And women are taught to go for a older man, more established man, or whatever the case may be. And then when those two things don't align, it's like she was literally shot. Like, what's the real reason? That's it. Like, you're too young for me. Like, I don't get why you don't understand why that you're too young for me. Well, you don't have to make up something. If you're not interested, you're just not interested. You're too young. Literally, that's all there is to it. I don't have time or the capacity to connect on. I can't do it. It just ain't going to work. And I know that about myself. You're too young. Like, I don't give a fuck if you're legal. You're over 18 now. You're still too young. If we put shit into context, if I was 21 and you were 14, still 7 years. I still have 7 years of life on you. 7 years of life that you can't catch up with. I heard this quote. This shit was so powerful because this really justifies my life. Motherfucker said, he said, I forgot more shit than most motherfuckers learn. I said, God damn. There's so much shit in this life that I forgot about that a lot of people haven't even learned yet. You feel what I'm saying? And it's a part of things that I don't talk about anymore because, like I said, it's so old. That was so long ago. You feel what I'm saying? And my life has always been patterned like that. You feel me? But on the same token to that, I realized why she was so surprised at the fact that I told her she was too young for me. You dig what I mean? Because that was the expectation. Because then I had to remember when I was, around homies who was, when I was in college and shit, these motherfuckers was like 28, 29 years old in that time pocket. I was, 21, 22 and shit, 23 and shit. No, I was in college from, all right, so let me do the math. Because I was in college from 18 to 22. 7, 8 years. So 30, yeah, so anywhere between 20. I was right, 27 to 30. So it's like, yo, put me on to some of them college girls. Nigga, no. You didn't even go to college. The fuck I'm gonna put you on to some of the college? Man, they bad, man, and they legal. You got problems, bro. You got issues. They're my age. They're fucking my age, my guy. That's nasty. I've always been one who did it, who operated from the expression of these are the absolutes. Like you just can't do that shit. That's foul, and you have to know when something is just not sitting well. You feel me? But like I said, we get caught up in the carnality of it all, and it keeps us in a certain connection for a specific time pocket. You feel me? A specific time pocket. And we say we like women in this. We like women who are built like girls. You feel me? We love that shit. Sometimes we like it mental. We like to keep them dumb and shit. Like low key, I'm not saying that the girls are dumb or whatever the case may be. But in context, she don't know what I know. I can run game on her. You feel me? Like I had another situation where a woman was telling me that because I told her another woman she was too young for me, and she was like, "No, I've dated somebody older than you before." And he said I was mature for my age. Huh? Yeah, you just gonna yeah. You'll see how that plays itself out. When a motherfucker can tell you that you're mature for your age and y'all have a significant age gap, that means he's immature for his. Simple. But whatever, dog. As I said, and I think about the dynamics and the root causes of this entire situation, what prompted this episode, it's like, it justifies all that I be saying. We're physically based beings. We don't operate from the mental like we're supposed to. We don't operate from the spiritual as we're supposed to. Everything is physical. Everything is carnal, and then the programming is so deep and so heavily rooted that we leverage ourselves. Well, I ain't gonna say leverage. We tie ourselves down and we anchor ourselves to a certain time pocket. Like when you look at the polygamy side, if you tapped into the culture, you already know what I'm talking about. But when you look into the polygamy side, like what more could you want when you already have like 4 or 5, and then you're just accumulating at that point? Like, what is it that you're looking for? Because at that point, it's not love. At that point, it's not growth. At that point, it's not development. It's pure physical satisfaction. You feel me? And they all built the same way. It's the physical appeal. You feel me? Physical appeal. And it goes, like I said, it goes into the programming. Programming is real. Like when you see something all your life, every single day, day in and day out, imprinted, it sticks to your mind. It sticks to your mind and creates your reality until you take your mind back and dictate your own reality. But not many of us do it. Not many of us tap in that way, because as we see it and as we perceive it, what happens is we think that this is how we're supposed to be. So when I say polygamy is for the carnal and monogamy is for the divine, I mean that shit. You feel me? Because to be monogamous, and this is where it gets, because to be monogamous isn't simply, I'm only going to be with one woman and now I have to control my urges. I can't look. I can't do other things like that. That's still a polygamous mind. That's still a carnal mind. You feel me? The monogamous mind isn't tempted. Can be tempted. Doesn't attempt to coerce into temptation. Like sometimes that's the thing. I seen a lot of motherfuckers do shit like this. Like you'll coerce a woman into tempting you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you can justify, oh, she came on to me. Like, eh. But there's certain tactics that are carnal, that are all carnal in our approach with relationships with women. So it's like, once we get our fix and we've had what we're going to have, it's on to the next one or bring another one in. In one of my episodes, I forgot which one it was. I was talking about cheating and shit. And I was like, you cheat when you feel like you're not winning. Now we're going to tie this into the polygamy shit, and polygamy is for the carnal, right? Why is the cheating always physical for us? Nigga, they be like, and then again, we get the pass slowly because it's like, when men cheat, it's not as bad because when men cheat, it's not as bad because it's just physical. It's just blah, 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 blah. That means your entire being is already built off physicality. It's not rocket science, but we justify that bullshit. You feel what I'm saying? Because we can't, it's not about controlling. Like, we so busy trying to control rather than remove. You know what I'm saying? They were like, yo, control your temptations, control your urges. Nah, remove them. You remove them by understanding them and understanding the depths of what they are, how the connection is. That's why I say monogamy is for the divine. Because when you get to a certain point and when you get to a certain point of understanding sexual energy and the connection and energy exchanges between people, when you get there, there's not a thing that you're abstaining from. You're patiently waiting for the right choice to align with what's yours, with what's equal to you, what's equally yoked and equally calibrated to you. You don't have to be told to do this shit. You don't have to be suppressed to do this shit. It's different. Monogamy becomes different because now, as I said, monogamy is, we got to get past looking at it from the basic level. When somebody is a monogamous, it's like, not only am I just only going to be with one woman, I'm going to utilize every aspect of this woman to give me everything that I need. This is the other side of the relationships when women don't talk about that part. They love to talk about the relationships where a man wasn't good enough for them. When they were dealing with a carnal man who's, I can't get anything out of him emotionally, but you feel me? He be fucking me right and blah, 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 blah. They love that, to know that, okay, I just had to fuck him good and he was okay. That's polygamy. You were just in a monogamous relationship with a polygamy minded person. You feel me? Oh, I had to watch his wandering eyes and blah, blah, blah. But I knew that as long as I was the one fucking him right, he was coming back to me and shit, right? But then when it switches and you actually deal with a real monogamous motherfucker who knows that I can literally get everything that I want from one woman, I have to draw it out of her. That requires women to change and transform. And that requires women to let down that ego. That requires women to look at themselves and say, yo, I'm not where I'm supposed to be with this man fully. You feel what I mean? And for the monogamy side of it, men, we have not been allowed to tap into that space. So this is why we feel unfulfilled. We be looking like, I need another woman. I need this. I just seen this conversation about this was a powerful ass conversation, because the way dude broke this down to shorty, she could not say shit but argue that. You feel me? It was one of those things where, rather than listening to what's being said, it was like, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm going to respond this way because I don't want women to look like, it is what it is. So he said, outside of, you know, it's the cliche. He said, what is it that you bring to the table? That was the conversation. And Shorty was like, what I bring is whatever that man, he makes the house, I make the home. She started talking about, and this is what she said. She was like, yeah, I can bring the furniture in to match the shit, blah, 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 blah. I do that. When things are running low in the house, like tissue, whatever, then I refill that. I do that. And the shit that she was saying was like, for me, I was like, no, it makes sense. Like, it's what? Like, that's simple shit. The dude broke down some very powerful shit. He said, look, if I want my house clean, I can hire a maid. If I want my food cooked, I can hire a cook, a chef, or whatever the case may be, to do certain things. If I want to be fucked good, I can hire somebody to do that. He said, everything that you're telling me that a woman can do for me or that a woman does for my home, I can pay for. So what is it that you bring to the table? And she tried to flip it. And she was like, well, what do you bring to the table? Because everything that I need to get out of a man, he said, no, you can't. He said, you can't pay a man to protect and provide for you. You cannot protect a man to build a house for you. You cannot protect a man to go work, pay bills for you. You cannot pay a man to do that. But I can pay a man to do everything that you're telling me a woman is supposed to do for me. I said, damn. And the crazy part about that is everything he mentioned was just carnal shit. It was basic shit. Food, clothing, and shelter. And it had me thinking like, damn, how many women think that that's all it is? You feel what I mean? But then it's like, from my own experience, I can say that there's a lot of women who think that that's all it is because of the carnality in which we have operated as men. I just need to be fucked good. Like I said, I've had a podcast episode where in my post-relationship analysis and shit, I think that's what it was. And I was saying, as I was involving myself with a woman who she was like, well, what do you need from me? I was like, shit, I was young. I was like 18, 19 years old. Just fuck me and suck me good and we good. No, there was no growth. I needed a lot more than that. I've had to learn that about myself. And then in recent situations, it's like still running into a certain type of woman. Because again, it's the program. It's like, yo, I knew that I was stuck in the time warp. This was a part of, the transition I was making, 25, 26 years old. And it's like, here's the type that I like. And it's like, why? I'm like, it's like, y'all aren't even like mentally and spiritually. I won't go for a woman within this time pocket, this age pocket. Right. But it's like, why do I want the physical appeal of that? You feel me? She ain't aging. She's still this. No, like I want a woman to look like she's getting older. Like, why would I want a woman to stay in that certain pocket? So, it would be certain things like, okay, now she got to compete. She got to keep herself up. She got to know she just got to be her. But this is the power of the difference between the separation between the monogamy and the polygamy, because it's like with the monogamy side, if you want a woman with a certain body, you bring that out of her. Right. And if she doesn't and that's the hardest part about it. Knowing where you stand as a man, knowing what level, and that's the hard, like I said, this is the hard part about the monogamy side. Knowing where you are as a man, knowing where you stand as a man, and knowing that this is what you require out of a woman and bringing it out of her or pushing her to be that, because it's like, this is what I need in my life. You said you want to be here, so you're not gonna, and it's always, you got to let me be me. You're trying to, no, I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to show you how you stay in my life. A lot of women don't want to hear that. A lot of women don't want to hear that. And as far as us as men, we don't want to say that oftentimes because we're taught not to say that. It's like, no, I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to show you how you stay in my life. Do you want to stay or not? I know you want to be here, but do you want to stay? As men, we got to start asking that question. So we're so used to, on our carnal side, it's like, okay, you can be here for as long as you're going to be here, then I can replace you because it's carnal. I can start over. I'm not in a position anymore in my life where I want to start over. I'm not in a position anymore in my life where I just want somebody to be here. You have to stay here. I don't know captive shit, no shit like that. Like, you ain't leaving. I ain't on no shit like that. But it's like, if you're going to be in my space, I have to make sure you can stay here. I have to make sure you can stay here. There's things that like just the same. I would want you to show me how to stay there. That's what monogamy is. You feel me? That's what the monogamy mind is. And like I said, it's not for the carnal. It's for the divine, because there's things that you have to know about yourself. There's things that you have to understand about who you are and what you are and the world as a whole to know what can stay in your life forever. And just be that only your focus. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm going to lock her in and need her and all of this. No, because they're still in that monogamy side is like who I'm with, right? I know what it requires to stay in my life, and she's meeting what stays in my life. I can't be tempted at that point. Now, it's one thing just to be in my space. You just got to have a certain dimension, everything. But to stay in my space, that's all I operate from. That's where you transition into monogamy. You feel what I'm saying? One of the things is like I've always get asked, like, how do you avoid, how do you avoid temptation? How is celibacy so easy? Because just because I want to fuck her doesn't mean she can stay in my space, and I only allow women in my space if they can stay there. Because if I got to kick you out after we done fucking, you feel me? These are things that I learned as a kid. When I say kid, I mean like teenage years, early 20s and shit. I would fuck chicks and kick them out. You feel me? We ain't got shit to talk about. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing for us to talk about. And I don't know fucked up shit or anything like that, but like sitting there talking to him, it's like, you fell for me because I kept teaching you shit. You fell for me because I was so smart and so intelligent. I was always giving you something to think about. You never gave me any of that back. Why the fuck are we having pillow talk? Get the fuck out. The fuck? Like, the fuck? I know that sounds so harsh. It sounds so rude, but it's real. It's honest. It is what it is. Again, another side of this reality that a lot of women don't want to hear from us. And another side of the reality that we don't want to say, that we end up settling for because we have been, as long as I can just stay polygamous and deal with women who want to be in my space rather than be monogamous, fuck with one woman who I want to stay here and show her how to stay here. Hey, huddle up, broskies, because it's time to elevate. The secret to evolving masculinity is to define it, understand it, then apply it. The Frail series defines masculinity as the spiritual, mental, and physical embodiment of the essence of analysis and deconstruction. From this definition, I explain how masculinity is not just the hat that we wear, but it's the essence that we must exude through application. If you enjoy the Frail conversations, why not read the books that inspired them? Visit IamJustSeen.com right now to add the Frail series to your library to get a better understanding of what masculinity really is. I promise, after reading Frail, you will never look at masculinity the same again. Because now that lets you know, can she be here? I had women who were, I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, cool. You showing me you want to be in my space. Now you're not showing me the actions that you want to stay here or that you can stay here. You feel me? You're not giving me that. I'm not wrong for letting you go. I'm not wrong for leaving you out. I'm not wrong for letting you go, leaving. Like, I'm not wrong for cutting you off. I'm not wrong for any of that shit. You know why? Because I know what it takes to stay in my life. And I'm also paying attention to what it requires to stay in yours. I've been doing my part. But you're falling short on yours. And you think, oh, if we just meet physically, it's like, or if we just, I got to feel you to know. No, you can't even show me that you can stay in my space right now. Like, so what you think getting his dick will do? It's going to be different. But let's flip it to the other side of that. As men, we wonder now. Well, we don't wonder, but it's obvious why we deal with quote unquote younger women, why we have an issue with our women growing and getting older and maturing and everything like that. Because as long as we don't have to teach them how to stay in our space, we could just continue find chicks who want to be there. You feel what I'm saying? And like I said, it fits within a certain mold. You know, we're so easily corrupted into believing, well, I ain't gonna say corrupted, coerced into believing in somebody else's ideology because we don't have one of our own, that the moment they present it, we don't see the full depths of what it is. I remember when, all of this shit started going viral and coming out in the conscious communities, they're like, all the brothers like, yo, we got a nation build, be polygamous or whatever the case may be. But what is polygamy, bro? What does it mean to be polygamous? What does it mean on the real scale? Nah, because it's nation building, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you just want to fuck something. Nah, because we need to be monogamous. That's hard to do. Because like I said, motherfuckers think monogamy is I have to just fuck with one person and cut off all my other friends and everything like that. No, it's really simple. It's when you're still able to fuck with just one person and your friends know that they're friends. And you know that they're friends. And who you fucking with doesn't have to worry about anything. You feel what I'm saying? I got a lot of female friends. I have a lot of friends that are women. My bad. I had to catch myself. Force a habit. I have a lot of friends who are women. A lot of them. Will I fuck them? No. Will I cross them? No. I got a homegirl. She's gay, right? She used to be my wingman, wing woman. You feel me? We was in college and shit. Like we would be walking somewhere. We were walking around campus and shit. And motherfucking go to a dorm and pull up. She have a girl at the dorm. I have a girl at the dorm. We go over there and shit. You know what I'm saying? And it was the girlfriend at the time. She said, now, she became my wingman after me and Shorty broke up. But we was friends during the relationship, all of us and shit. So she said, I don't trust her. I said, for what? I said, she don't even like dudes. She said, but she's still a woman. So at the end of the day, if she want to try you, she will. She's gay. She don't like dudes, bruh, like at all. She was like, yeah, you say that, but women still have. I say, she was that insecure that she thought a gay woman would come on to me. And you know what I'm saying? But that's a whole different dynamic of the game. But the point that I was making with that was that when it comes to how the perception is already perceived with us, is that it's understood that we're carnal. Nobody can perceive that, yo, we are really divine beings. Because like I said, we elevate divinity, and being divine is something that's so mystical and magical, and motherfuckers just got to be unicorns to actually reach. You dig what I mean? And that's not the case. That's not the case at all. That's the facade. So when we look at when we look at the full gamut of everything, what are we programmed as men for? Only to be operating from that shit? What our women internalizes already, that we're supposed to operate from that shit. So when the shit goes inside, it's like our relationships are built off of this entire reality, not off of the monogamy. Because like I said, that's too demanding on a woman. You ain't my daddy. You ain't this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. When you reach a certain level of masculine energy, you have 3 points in it that you reach. You have the fraternal energy, the spousal energy, and the paternal energy. You feel me? The fraternal energy is your playful energy. Your spousal energy is your intimate energy. Your paternal energy is your quote unquote fatherly energy, but it's your instructional energy. You feel me? Monogamy requires you to be all three. Polygamy requires you to find all three in certain things. That's what I said. Polygamy is for the carnal. Monogamy is for the divine, because the divine is now bringing everything into one and saying, now I have to find everything that I am in one. It's easy as fuck to have, like, you feel me? I've been told, and I can substantiate this point now. I've been told by women, it's like, yo, you the type of person who polygamy would work for. And I said, but it wouldn't work for me, because I'd still be unfulfilled. I said, no funny shit, really, and I mean this with no funny shit. Like, and I'm just using this for dramatic effect. You know how many hoes I'd have to be satisfied? You feel me? Do you know how many hoes I would have to feel every single piece of who I am? You feel me? It's one thing for dudes who, you know, when you don't really know who you are and you just satisfied with fucking something, it's like, nah, I would need a piece. I would need a woman to understand the capacity of my mind from this dynamic. So I'm not even gonna put it on the full totality of who I am as a person, but I'm just gonna put it off the basic energy, right? If I was still in that monogamy space, I would need a woman from my fraternal side, from my fraternal energy. Playful, play with me, don't get serious, or whatever the case may be. I would need a woman that's for my spousal side, intimacy. Give it here. Bam, this is where we at. I would need another woman for my paternal side, which is somebody that I can instruct. You know what I'm saying? Those different types of energies need to be all blended in one to find one that you are able to develop with. So low key, we know these things, but when they're out of whack, we blur the lines. So a lot of us use our paternal energy to attract younger women because we know they need guidance, or they're going to look up to, like, a lot of women, oh, you stimulate my mind so much, is because my paternal energy is what's stimulating you right now. You feel me? But I can still tap into my playful energy. I can still tap into my intimate energy when I need to. But a lot of times, because we don't know the different dynamics of these energies, we try to find a relationship or build a relationship on one thing. Typically, it's the fraternal. Oh, we play and we act like kids and shit. Why the fuck should we be acting like kids when we're supposed to be growing into adults and old people? You building a relationship off of fraternal and sorority energy where you just playful energy. You can't play for 30, 40 years, my nigga. You can't. You got to get serious. You feel me? And then you can't be intimate for 30, 40 years. There has to be that switch when it's like, okay, intimacy is like we got to be here all the time and we have to be able to be forever present with the two and know how to interchange it. Then it's that you have that paternal energy, that guiding energy, that instructional energy. That has to be in there too. Do you have anything to teach? No. So the point that I was making with that was that if I were to do it, I would still not, and it just on the basic level, I would need at least 3. But in multiple levels, I would need, and that's if I was on the carnal side. But and this is why, and this is one of the reasons that's going to justify the context of what this this episode is about. You feel me? And why polygamy is for the carnal, monogamy is for the divine, because just off of those 3 forms of the energy, the playful energy, the intimate energy, and the paternal energy, right, which is instructional guidance. Within those realms, there's still multiple pockets of me in which my energy can exude in there. You feel me? My playful energy, that's a lot of where my creativity is. You feel what I'm saying? Music, artistry, like there's so many different dynamics in which I am a creative. You feel what I mean? It's not just linear. It's not just a linear thing. The intimacy, there's so many different levels in which I can be intimate. And I know how to be intimate with a person, not just physically fucking a woman. You feel me? I can fuck your soul and I can fuck your mind before I ever penetrate you. You feel what I mean? The instructional, the paternal energy, I have a lot of game, a lot of gems for a lot of shit. I've experienced a lot of shit in life. You feel what I'm saying? In multiple dynamics. You feel what I'm saying? I'm very well rounded. I experienced hood shit, suburban shit, college shit. You feel me? It's so many different dynamics and shit. So it's like, what vein do you have to stick in? I can't stick in any one. So it's like, what do you do? This is why I say monogamy is for the divine, because it's a challenge at that point to consolidate everything into one. And I know people, well, that's putting pressure on her. Well, the pressure is on me too. Because I have to, understanding that this is what I had to do to help her stay in my life. What does she need me to do to help me stay in hers? Because now that raises the quandary. It's like, do I really want to stay here? I don't have to. You feel what I'm saying? If it gets to a point where it's just like, all right, well, I can't meet your requirements. Okay, cool. And I expect the same. You can't meet my requirements. Cool, but don't try. Don't try. Because it's more than just being here. Because what happens when, you like, because then it's like, okay, well, what happens when you're on your period? You feel me? I've heard like, this is the most carnal shit ever. If you're on your period, you got to use your mouth. The fuck? Like, people laughed at it and shit. But now we're at the point where, put a towel down. A little blood ain't gonna hurt. No, you're not supposed to be penetrating a woman when she's on a period. Like, there's a different level of, for me, I just got to say this like this. If the women are listening on this episode, I don't give a fuck. But I feel like there's a level of psychosis. If your chick is willing to fuck you while she's on her period, something wrong with her. Something wrong with her, bro. On some real shit. If they complain that much about cramps and the uterus hurting that fucking bad and they willing to get fucked through that, yo, something's wrong, bro. Something is wrong. Like, I'm sorry, dog. I can't, really sit there and put that shit into context, my guy. If you've ever smashed somebody while they was on a period, like, think about the dynamic of how they say cramps are, how bad cramps are for them. And they want you fucking them in that same capacity. There's something wrong with them on a deeper level to where they have I feel like, I guess menstruation has to be the second greatest pain a woman feels, because birth is the first, but it's the second greatest pain that a woman feels. You know what I'm saying? When they cramping and shit like that, I've seen women become incapacitated. I've seen women just drop and not be able to function at all because the cramps are so bad. You feel what I'm saying? And I get it. Not all women go through extreme cramps, but just put it in perspective. We got to use, because we don't have them. So we don't know what they really feel like. But A woman still willing to get fucked through that? Bro, she crazy. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. Something's not right. Something's not right up there to where you're willing to be, and that ties into the sexual connection being tied to pain, the painful experience. Pain is love, and it's like they are more aroused with more pain that they feel, and they are more like that's crazy, bro. That shit's crazy. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, it's like you go from that's the carnal shit. You feel me? Oh, I'm still gonna fuck while she on the period. You can't even abstain from that. And then off the other side, oh, she on the period. Oh, I gotta keep another one. And this is where a lot of motherfuckers fuck up. And this is where a lot of us, because on the carnal side, we don't understand the energy of it. Why we be like, yo, I keep multiple chicks. I used to do this when I was younger. Be like, I got multiple chicks because, and this was my excuse, when one is on a period, I go fuck with the other one. And then it got to a point where I started really paying. I always been attuned to pay attention to the women I was involved myself with, just not that deep. But it was like, how the fuck y'all periods on the same time? It wasn't always like that. How the fuck y'all should align? There should aligned because I aligned it. The energy that I was presenting, the energy that I was using as I was fucking them consistently, it aligned their periods. The reason why is because my period aligned with them. That was something that I talked about. This episode got fucked up. I don't know how. It was on the podcast episode. It was myriads of emotions, right? Or the myriad or something like that. So Frail conversations. I might re-record one for next week to break it down again. But men have periods. We have cycles. We just don't bleed. And that's the problem because we don't understand it. We laugh. Oh, you're on your myriad. I might be. Men have monthly cycles too. Do you know why we have monthly cycles? Because the cycle is affected by the moon. There's 28 days of the moon's phases and the moon cycles. We have them too. But women are easier able to chart theirs because they bleed. There's, oh, my period's on because the blood is the indicator. What is our indicator? Other than the fact that we get emotional and erotic. Like, what is it? You feel me? We have our cycles too. But because we don't understand our cycles, and like I said, it's tied to the moon. The moon affects the water. The moon affects liquid. That's why the menstruation for the woman is all heavily related to the blood, the cleansing. Men have that shit too, but we don't have a release the same way. You feel what I'm saying? In a sense of, but our blood is still affected. The lymph is still affected. The liquids in our body and the water in our body is still affected. We have cycles too. We also have hormones like women. We secrete the same hormones. Women's main hormone is just estrogen and progesterone. Ours is testosterone. And it's testosterone and I can't think of the other one because women is progesterone and estrogen, and for men it's testosterone and I can't think of the root right now at the beginning, but same shit happens. We have a lead a lead hormone that is triggered by the moon that leads to other emotions that we have, but we just don't pay attention to it. So anyway, I say that to say this: so we fucking one chick, our cycles align. Our cycles align. This is why we start to get emotional at the same time. That's why we start to get angry with each other at the same time. We respond to each other the same way, especially when we don't understand the full depths of what's going on. Chances are, over time, when her period is on, your period is on. But you don't know you got a period. So now you go fuck with another chick whose period was completely off. Now you have aligned two different periods in some way, shape, or form. Now it's like, damn. Case in point, we get to where dudes be like, yo, all my hoes tripping for dramatic effect. Again, another situation that I've said in my carnal days. You feel me? I have a team of 5 in rotation, bringing them in and everything. Then it comes a point where they all align. And it's like, wow, my hoes ain't fucking with me. My hoes ain't fucking with me. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to fuck with my hoes at that moment. You know what I'm saying? I be wanting them, yo, hit me up. You feel me? Talk to me, motherfucker. I don't want to have to keep initiating the conversation. You come initiate the conversation with me, show me what's up. And then it's like, why did that happen? Because our cycles align. You feel me? So again, these are all things that you're going to have to still deal with just on a multiple level. Motherfuckers don't pay attention to that shit because they don't know. You feel me? So that carnal shit is like, I'm still going to have to be satisfied. And me personally, I'd rather have to deal with one menstrual cycle than multiple. I'm sorry. Because like I said, when you polygamous and y'all all living in the same house, you feel me? And it's crazy as fuck. My first experience with this, I was only fucking one of them at the time. Yeah, at the time. I eventually hit a couple of the other ones that was in the suite, but that was after the fact, so it doesn't count because it wasn't during, one. But anywho, the point that I was making was that in undergrad was when I first started to observe that, because like you have the all women suites, all men suites, blah blah blah. I lived in the men's suite or whatever the case may be, but I was always in a woman's suite. You feel me? So this particular suite that I was in there all the time, and it got to a point where like they would just knock on each other's doors and be like, "Yo, can I get a tampon? Yo, can I get a pad?" And they would be like, "Yeah, mine on too." Nigga, how? And I started to realize it's the magnetic effect of the energy and shit when women coincide and they come together, like they shit's aligned. When there's some kind of alignment there, women living together in the same close quarter space, their cycles align. The energy just shifts and their cycles align. Magical type shit. Same shit happens with men. You feel me? Same shit happens with men. Then eventually it gets to a point where it gets volatile and motherfuckers want to fight. Both sides. It just happens. But everything aligns. Everything aligns for that very reason. So this is why I say polygamy is more of a challenge, because now it's like my cycle as the man is aligned with y'all cycles as women, because I'm fucking each and every one of y'all. So y'all periods start on the same time. Y'all start ovulating at the same time. Y'all start going like, you ever seen, what's the phrase? Project Twins? What Drake say in that song? He said, my nigga got 3 baby mamas, 3 kids, and they all 3 sons, and they all 3. How? It's not happenstance. Like it's not just like a one time. Like it's like it gets to a point where everything aligns perfectly to the fact that I have been fucking with y'all consistently for so long. Not only that, I'm fucking y'all raw now. Now my energy is now connected to y'all on a whole different level. So every time I penetrate y'all, I align with y'all, y'all align with me, and now we're all in sync with each other. So much so that y'all all got pregnant at the same time. Same time. Babies are the same age. Damn near might even have the same birthday sometimes. But it's like probably like a month or two up, but the baby's the same age. It's a lot of project twins like that. I ain't gonna say project twins, hood twins. It's a lot of twins like that, hood twins like that. You feel me? It's like, how y'all the same age? But y'all got the same dad. We got different mamas, but they the same age. How? They align because of the spiritual connection between everything else that tied into it. That's what polygamy ain't gonna tell you. But see, now with the monogamous side of it all, it's like our energies have aligned. Right? Your cycle is my cycle. My cycle is your cycle. This is how you be knowing when, your chick is ready. Your lady is ready. Like, what's up. You know when her cycle come on. You know why? Because yours is on. You just never acknowledged it before because you have not. We as men are taught that's so taboo. Men ain't got periods. Oh, and it's because I'm emotional. It's deeper than just emotions and fucked up hormones. When a cycle comes on, it's deeper. It's so much deeper than that. You feel what I'm saying? It is a whole cosmic connection to how the moon is literally affecting you right now. You're going through the same phases of the moon, same cycles and shit, and your shit aligns. You feel me? You ever been fucking a chick and you threw her period on, you made her period come on? You feel me? I ain't gonna hold you. I did that shit so much in life that I thought it was normal. The first time this shit happened, it scared the fuck out of me. Like I was like 15 years old. And it's like I fucked her cycle on. You feel me? And it's like, yo, how do you fuck a cycle on? What has to happen to y'all energy to where it aligns? It completely turns, it completely shifts her clock. You feel what I mean? She's like, yo, you fucked my cycle on. Yeah. You feel me? It's like, it wasn't my shit was not due for another week and a half, 2 weeks. That's a different level of energy people don't want to understand or acknowledge, yo. You feel me? But again, y'all see why I'm saying polygamy is for the carnal, monogamy is for the divine. You feel me? That's why I can't just be fucking multiple women no more. Like that shit's crazy. Like I can't do that shit. I can't just be involved with multiple women anymore. I have to be involved with one, and now that is the new challenge. That is a new challenge because I have to bring everything out of her that I need for, like, I'm telling you, like, and I can do it. I can have multiple women and I'm not going to be satisfied because like I want everything out of one. I don't want to have to keep going back and forth. I'm like, oh, I gotta go deal with her ass. She do this, but she does give me this. She just lacks everywhere else. You feel me? What is that? What does that do to you? You feel me? Literally, like, really think about it. What does that do to your mental space? As a man, when you're not fulfilled everywhere you go. Even if you comfortable, yeah, I got all of these women, I got all of this, and it's like, why do you still need more? Same Pokemon. Why do you still need more? Like, really, really ask yourself that shit. Why? What is the requirement? Because it's all physical. It's all, what do I physically need? What do I physically lack? What do I physically have to, do that I can't get out of just one woman? And now we have to look at it from the other side. Women keep saying you only need one woman shit, and then push them to be what you need fully. That's hard. That's hard. Especially when they never had to do it. You feel me? If you want a quote unquote good woman, you got to first define good. Women be thinking that, like I said, when the bull broke down, he said everything that women keep saying makes them a good woman, I could pay a woman to do for me. But everything that a woman keeps saying makes a good man, she can't pay a man to do for her. You can't pay a man to pay your bills. That's ass backwards. Just go ahead and pay your bills. Pay your own bills. You know what I'm saying? You can't pay a man to raise your children. Well, yes, you can. Daycares, all that shit. Let me take that one back. Okay. But anyway, I'm talking about, okay, so you can't pay a man to be the protector and the provider. I can pay a woman to be my nurturer and sustainer. You feel me? I could pay a woman to clean my house. I could pay a woman to cook for me. You feel me? I could pay a woman to satisfy me in the bed. You may be able to pay a man to satisfy you in the bed. You feel me? But can you get a man can you pay a man? Well, I mean, when I really think about it, she can buy security. She can hire a bodyguard. You feel me? Yeah, so now that I sit and I ponder on that, I might have to take it back. But in the grand scheme of it all, willingness to, the principle still stay the same. I'm fuck that. I already said it, so I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stand on what I said. But for the most part, it's like when we look at that physical aspect of it, but when we take it beyond that, what more do we need? What requirements do I need for you to be able to stay in my space? And when I say stay in my space, I'm not saying follow my rules. I'm not saying think like me. I'm not saying be what I need you to be in any way, shape, or form. What do I need? Like, my space requires something. It requires peace. I've already maintained that peace. You got to be able to feel like me to stay in that space. You feel me? I'm going to show you this is what it takes to feel like me. This is what I need for you, for me. This is what I need out of you for me to feel like me. To me to, you know what I'm saying? And I want the same thing. And then if we can figure out the consensus with that, we could rock. If we can't, we got to let it go. But when you're dealing with a woman if her mentality is, oh, you trying to control me, you got to let her go. Because she's not seeing that. Oh, I want you to stay in my space, but this is what it takes. Like, she'll go to work. You feel me? A worker, the job will say, here's the dress code. Oh, no, I wear what the fuck I want to wear. Okay. You lose a job. You feel me? The job says you got to show up at this particular time. Okay. I don't show up at the time, I lose a job. Job says you have to honor this drug code. So if you get a random drug test and you fail, you got to go. Okay. Motherfuckers willing to honor that shit. But if it comes to a relationship, like, yo, this is what I need you to stay here. That's not control at that point. You feel what I'm saying? But if a motherfucker can see that shit is control, it's like, you know what I'm saying? How are you supposed to operate with that? You feel me? So when we as men like, okay, fuck it, I'm not gonna deal with it. I should be polygamous. I have my hoes. When you done and you reach the point where you no longer want to stay here, go. You feel me? But at the same time, as a man, what that does to me is I don't have to put any expectations or any high standards for myself to say this is what is required to stay in my life. You feel me? It wasn't until I had developed the value for myself to realize, yo, monogamy really is the shit. And to stay here, this is what it's going to take. I've had women tell me some shit, well, I'm just not doing this because blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I let it slide. I don't let that shit slide no more. It's like, yo, I don't need that in my life. Because this is what is required for my life to have peace and stability, you feel me, and the level of power that I need. But you, on the other hand, don't want to do that. You don't want to set, like, but I got to set your standard. Don't be looking at this chick. Don't be looking at that. Like, I'm not even worried about that shit, but you only want to do what I need you to do to stay in my space. And then I asked my brothers, have you ever defined what it is, what you would need for a woman to stay in your life? Take away sex. You feel me? One of the things that I'm very, very thankful for that my mama provided me with was self-sufficiency. I know how to cook, I know how to clean, I know how to do everything that I would need to do for myself. So if you try to threaten with what you can't, I can literally do everything. So I always say this, I don't need a woman that's in dependability, but I need a woman in my life. I don't need a woman that I can depend on. I need a woman that I can find dependable. If I can't find you dependable, what the fuck are you here for? You have no reason to stay in my life. You don't add any value to it. You feel me? And I asked my brothers, like, do the women that come into your space add value? And not only do they add value, do you show them what the value is that they have to add in order to stay there? If you have not come to terms with that within yourself, what value you need to add, and you're going to get to the point where you're lost in the polygamous mindset. And you're not going to be able to move into the monogamous mindset. But then more than that, you get stuck in that time warp. And then we get caught up in how polygamy is such a thing. But nah, polygamy is a facade. Polygamy is for the carnal. Monogamy is for the divine. And it's going to take your divine self to define what your value is. You feel what I'm saying? And what value another motherfucker needs to bring into your space to stay there. And don't forget to take a moment to go get your exclusive merchandise from Just Scenes merch. At Just Scenes, each piece is specifically crafted with positive imagery and symbolism. From the titles and designs to the descriptions, each style gives you something to feel great about. With everything from hoodies and tees to coffee mugs and tote bags, we have something for the entire family. So be sure to get yours today. Find us on Instagram at Just Scenes merch and get your merchandise right now. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up there. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up there. Yeah. Like I said, I kind of wanted to speak towards that situation, not on it. Because I don't give a fuck about it in that. I give a fuck about it in the sense of, the situation was fucked up. It's, child molestation is fucked up. But at the same time, and this is no justification or no past, this is redirecting the energy into saying, okay, why is this like this? This is why. It's kind of crazy that, So Frail is finished, so I can't add any more to it. But at the end of the day, it's amazing how this shit came full circle and how this book was written according to that thing. But because I got a chapter in there on sexual energy and shit and controlling shit. But I left some of the shit out. So whatever. That's why we had so Frail conversations. But anyway, yeah, man, this is dangerous. This is dangerous because we've been following this monogamous template, or everybody been trying to be monogamous, but not realizing what the depths of it really are, or what it really is. My bad. Monogamy is easy. Monogamy and polygamy, low key, they're just as easy as each other and just as hard as each other. It's just in what you're willing to do internally. If you're not willing as a man to do the internal work, you can't be monogamous. Because the inner work is going to require you to say, this is what I need in my life to stay in my space. But you have to internalize the internal side to know exactly what it is that you need. But you externalize it with polygamy, and it's like, now I need multiple women and shit. And then, you feel me? That's what you get caught in. And then when you tie it down solely to the physical side, you feel me? You get to a point where you start eyeing and looking at, 13, 14, 15-year-old girls and shit. You know what I mean? And it is fucked up. It's not like there's no pass. There's no pass. Oh, they not to be looking like that, blah, blah, blah. No, there's no pass for that shit. That's foul. It's nasty. It's wrong. It's immoral. But because we put legalities to certain things, and by legality, I'm not saying that 13, 14, 15 is legal. I mean, 18 and up is legal, but it's still, you feel what I'm saying? That's the part of the pocket that we tapped into when it comes to the polygamy shit. The polygamy mindset, because it's carnal. Get to the core of that, we can call it polygamy all we want to, but we have to look at it as carnal. Anybody that's ever mentioned polygamy in any way, shape, or form, always tied it to procreation. I don't give a fuck how. Why are you polygamous? You feel me? Why is it? Well, we were polygamous when we was in Africa. We was polygamous in the early cultures and shit, because men have a lot of semen and women have one egg. So that means but you can only have one cum shot, stupid ass. When dumbass motherfuckers say that shit, well, why do men have a bunch of semen in if they only supposed to? Because what happens is the egg neutralizes the rest of the sperm and only one sperm cell can make it. The whole vagina is literally eliminating the ones that ain't gonna work. Along the way, it's like a fucking Star Wars movie and shit as the shit is going down the womb and shit. But it's like patoo, patoo, patoo. Effective. Not using that. And it's like only the strong survive. It's that one sperm cell that can make it. It's not even that one sperm cell that can make it. It's that one sperm cell that the vagina as a whole has determined is worthy enough to spark the second phase of meiosis for this egg to turn into a baby. Powerful shit. But anywho, motherfuckers say that shit. Well, men have a lot of sperm, so it ain't like you can nut that time and then put it like you can't take an individual sperm cell and put it in every woman. So that defeats that purpose of we're polygamous because we have so much sperm. Sperm ain't got shit to do with it. If anything, that's why we shouldn't be polygamous. You feel what I'm saying? Because it's like so now let's take it back to where they tell you to have when they're telling people, to get a viable possibility to have, you have to wait at least 3 days, right? You know why? Because you need a certain amount of sperm. You need a certain amount of semen and sperm cells to actually get to the penetrating layer that the vagina had, the barriers that the vagina has set up for sperm cells to get to the point. You feel me? To get to the egg. So when you have when you shooting blanks or whatever the case may be, it may not necessarily be that you're shooting blanks. It may be that you're not shooting enough. Your semen doesn't contain enough sperm cells that can outlast what happens with that's a different science topic. That ain't even what the hell I'm talking about. Let me end this shit. Look, polygamy is for the carnal. Monogamy is for the divine. It's that simple. You feel me? Being a one woman man, and it's like they call it, oh, you're simping, you this, that, and that. You know how difficult it is? You feel me? I played both sides of the game well. When I say I play both sides of this game well, I can tell you they're the same game. You're going to get the same stress, same headache, same worry, same everything, right? But which one is more linked to yourself? You feel me? With polygamy, I don't have to explore who I really am. You feel me? And not only that, I don't have to bring out what I need out of women individually. Like I got women who, I've had women who could fuck me good but couldn't stimulate me mentally. I had women who could stimulate me mentally but still use their teeth. You feel me? I've had women with playful moments who can, but they couldn't get intimate on any other level. You feel me? I've had multiple cycles at one time, and it's like, okay, I don't have to teach them shit. Just let me just focus on this one who does this part. Focus on this one who does this part. And I keep them all in a space. You feel me? And then I realized that when I was doing my monogamy thing, is like, what does it require for you to stay here? That's when the problems came in. And I would always ask myself, like, yo, why the fuck I got better? I'm gonna go back to being a hoe, man, because I ain't had these problems. Because it wasn't about having the problems. It was about my own value. It was about my own standards. It was about what I had to do for myself to set the tone and say, this is my value and this is what value you have to bring. You feel me? That's what monogamy will do to you. That's why monogamy is for the divine. You set that tone, and now when the women come into your space, here's what you have to do to stay here. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm not saying you got to do it. I'm not saying, you'll lose me if you don't. But I'm telling you that this is what you have to do to stay here. Are they willing to do it or not? My brothers, start putting your motherfucking foot down. Let these motherfuckers know. Look, this is what you have to do to stay here. Because either they're going to stay or they're not. You feel me? I've had women who, it's funny as shit now. Because talking to them now, it's just like, damn, you still single? Talking to them, they're like, yo, you still single? What you mean? I'm like, well, I'm single in the sense of what it's like. I'm single in the sense of what I'm operating from and still building things slowly. But it's like, you told me that, you already got dudes willing to see you and, ready to take that next step. It's like, yo, why didn't they work? Why didn't they work? They didn't work because of me. And not because, oh, she's still thinking about me, whatever the case may be. I exposed her to what it is when a motherfucker says, this is what value you have to bring to me. And then it's like, man, that small glimpse of, damn, these motherfuckers ain't requiring me to do shit. I just regressed back to that. And it's like, damn. You feel me? I'm not changing that shit. This is what value you have to bring you have to bring this value to me. To stay here, this is what you have to bring. To stay in your space, I know what I got to bring. And one of the realities was that I just had to bring physical shit to women. And I had so much more. And I brought it. And then it was like, I don't know what to give you back. What I'm giving you, hello, I'm telling you what I need by giving it to you. It's called love language, it's shit. But whatever. As my brothers, yo, we need to start elevating into them divine again. You feel me? Monogamy. Monogamy is not as difficult as people think it is. You feel me? But it's when you decide to change your perspective and say, you know what? I want all of what I have from one. It's that simple. You feel me? Monogamy is not just based off of an intimate relationship with a person. You got to start being monogamous in all things. A man who's polygamous, I can tell you right now, a man who's polygamous, typically he doesn't have focus on multiple things. He can't focus on an individual thing. No funny shit. Like, it's like, I got to do this. I got to put my time here. I got to put my time here. You feel what I'm saying? And this is something that I recently had to learn. Like, when you monogamous, you put monogamy into everything. Let me focus on this one thing, not just the physical aspect to it of a relationship, right? It's a mindset that makes it work this way. You feel me? And this is something I had to learn. And I really just capitalized on within this year. I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't gonna be like I knew this outside of relationship. I knew it outside of relationship, but I started to apply it out to everything else. This year, like, I was trying to be a polygamist with my brands and my businesses. Like, it's like, I put attention here, put a little bit of attention here. No, I know now I can only focus on one. When I changed my mindset to be monogamy, I didn't know that I changed it for everything. I can only focus on one thing at a time. And I have to give my entire value to that one thing instead of dividing my value into multiple things, because as an entrepreneur, you can't do that shit. You can't do that shit. That's why when I took that break and I said, I'm going to finish writing So Frail, then come back to the podcast and then start getting everything else. That's why I had to do that shit. That was, for me, the representation of what has always been happening in the past when I was like having multiple women. You feel me? It was easy to see them, but it was hard to see when it's on other tangible things. And I was like, bruh, this is not the same, but it is the same. You feel me? Because it's a part of what the core says. You feel me? I got to draw every single thing I can out of everything that I have. And when I can do that at that level, then I can go in and do multiple things. You feel what I'm saying? But it's one thing when it's just easy, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go be here. I'm going to go be here. I'm going to go be here. Because now monogamy requires you to be intentional. That's the root core of all of this shit. Monogamy is about being intentional. Intentional in knowing that everything that you do has to be to the highest value of yourself. You like I did that. I started off talking about sex and all of this shit, but now we're going to bring it back to the self and why it relates to soul conversations as we go ahead and draw this in. Monogamy is intentional. There are no intentions with polygamy. Therefore, when you are polygamous in that regard, pay attention to how polygamous you are in your life. What intentions do you set with the things that you do? Or do you just do them just to say, okay, I got it, I had it done? Or do you set the monogamous intention to say, I'm going to bring the highest value out of what I can right now? You feel me? Not just have it done and say, oh, well, here's a task, I fucked it. Nah, every dynamic of who I am. So now when I said, looking at the different types of masculine energy, the fraternal, sororal, spousal, the fraternal, the spousal, and the paternal, all of these things have to be tied into it. You still use those on every aspect of your life. This is why I said monogamy is for the divine. It's not just limited to relationships. It's every part of your being. You intentionally do things with the intention to make it better, make it grow, add value to it, not just to have it done, not just to fuck it. It's about being fruitful and multiplying in every dynamic. You feel what I mean? That's what monogamy is. And as I'm developing and as I'm growing, I realized that although I broke the monogamy, the polygamous mentality from the physical, the reason why it was still a struggle on the other sides was maybe because the mental and the spiritual wasn't completely aligned with it. I had to tap in and align that shit. And it was in aligning that where I'm like, oh shit. That's why. That's why. You're not stuck. You're not confused. You're not lost. You're not monogamous. That's all. You're not monogamous. And you're not monogamous beyond a physical connection of sex and shit like that. When you're monogamous, you're intentional with one thing. And you do what you need to do to make that thing stay in your life. Whether it be a business, whether it be a woman, whatever. That's what monogamy is. Polygamy is when I'm going to have so many different things, but there's not going to be much tied to it because it's carnal. You feel me? You got to be monogamous first with something before you can be polygamous with that very thing. You feel me? I'm not saying cross the line and do both, but when you're monogamous, you spend that time and those intentions off that one thing and you make it work how it's supposed to. But I'm going to end with that. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And let's start teaching our boys early. Let's break this mentality of polygamy in our boys early. Because it's getting younger and younger. And these motherfuckers is getting weird. You feel what I'm saying? It needs to be the monogamous perspective. You feel me? Teach them how to be the intentional piece to, I need to know the value of myself. And whatever I share my space with in order to stay here, it has to have the same value that I require. Simple. We could teach our boys this shit. We teach our girls. The fuck? Teach our boys the same shit. This is where it's crazy because we're teaching our girls to be monogamous and we're teaching our boys to be polygamous. Shit stupid. But now we're starting to teach, think like a man, act like a lady. You're thinking like a polygamous man who's all carnal. That's why shit's clashing. That's why you get toxic femininity. That's why you have all of these detrimental things to our culture and our community. And it's not just from the physical sexual part, but a lot of us are polygamous. We cannot lock in for a monogamous mentality. Locking in for monogamy is what changes the game, changes the scope. You do what I mean? But I'm going to end it there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And I'm going to see y'all on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.